This was way too poetic not to talk about. So the last video on the YouTube channel goes over Jakub Vrana in the Detroit Red Wings system and how he had recently gotten scratched in the Grand Rapids Griffin system. Not in the NHL, but in the AHL. And we made the video asking, hey, is this a big deal? Do we actually have to think about this? Is this a bad thing? Is this whatever? Long story short, we don't know. We'll have to wait and see whether or not this is actually a conclusion that makes sense for us to freak out about. But we also said in that video that it definitely would be a bad way to go out if this is some sort of the beginning of the end for Vrana in the Red Wings system, and how this might lead to a buyout or a trade. Whatever happens is going to happen, but still, this would be a really unfortunate way to go out when you consider that this is the guy the Red Wings got in return for Anthony Mantha. And I wanted to talk about Mantha as well, because not only has Jakub Vrana been sent down, cleared waivers, and is now getting scratched in the AHL, but the guy that he was traded for, Anthony Mantha, well, he's kind of dealing with some of his own demons too. And no, we're not talking about the New Jersey Devils, we're talking about his own situation with the Washington Capitals. So, let's go out there and talk about the very poetic sort of duality of the situation. Oh my goodness, that sounds so pretentious, I can't believe I said that, but either way, where Vrana is getting healthy scratched in the AHL, let's talk about how Mantha is getting scratched in the NHL. Anthony Mantha has had himself a pretty alright season when you take a look at strictly just the numbers. The guy is 28 years old. As we know, he's a big dude, 6'5", 234, making $5.7 million a year till the end of 2024. And honestly, that's a contract that if you acknowledge what Mantha is at his best, this could be seen as a very good deal. The guy had himself 38 points in 43 games played for the Red Wings in 2019-20, a career-high point-per-game season. We all kind of knew that when Mantha was on, he was on. And as a member of the Red Wings, he could absolutely take control of shifts if he wanted to. When he was at his best, his head was in the game, he was a force. He could skate, he could play make, he could score goals, multiple 20-goal years with the Red Wings. It's just a matter of Mantha being in it that was needed a little bit more often. And so, when the Red Wings traded Mantha away in the midst of a contract conversation that saw him needing to be re-signed, a lot of Red Wings fans were like, okay, this is a good return. Vrana is a good player, there was a lot of other stuff added there too, but at the end of the day, the Washington Capitals are getting themselves a very solid power forward who just needs a little bit more consistency to round out his game. If he could figure it out mentally and find a way to really engage himself in all 82 games that he plays, then Mantha could be an absolute beast. It's just, when he wasn't in it, you would see shifts where the guy just kind of floated out there. He really wasn't engaged, and he would go through stints like that in Detroit. This was a problem that persisted for years, and it's why the Red Wings were in a position where you could say it wasn't really the right move to give him the big money contract. And so, sending him away to Washington, a lot of Red Wings fans wished him farewell. They wished him good fortunes and a good life. It's just, we knew that there was a lot to work on there in terms of the mental side of the game. Not the physical or the skilled side. He was really good at that. It's just, he needed to be a little bit better himself. But when it comes to the way that Mantha has been playing as of late, the guy had himself the 23 points in 37 games played last year. This year, he has the same amount of points in a little bit more games played, so 23 points in 42 games. He actually has the same goals and assists as his last season's worth of play, 9 goals, 14 assists. If you do the math, he is on pace for 44 points in 80 games played. Now, the reason he is on pace for 80 games played is because the past 2 games he has been scratched too. Here is an article that I'm not gonna go out there and show you 100% because this is behind a paywall, Capitals Anthony Mantha calls his healthy scratch a wake-up call. What Samantha Pell did on the Washington Post was kind of summarize the situation. There are a lot of quotes in here, though, from Anthony Mantha himself, and this is why I wanted to use this article. It is behind a paywall, so you can't go out there and just read it normally, but because quotes are quotes and they're not, the writer going out there and creating the content themselves, what I wanted to do was screenshot some of the quotes that Anthony Mantha had himself as to how it feels to get scratched and everything. Pretty much, the Capitals had Wilson and Backstrom returning the other day, and on Sunday, Mantha ended up being the scratch. I had a good stretch, a bad stretch, he said on Monday. It's part of hockey. I don't think I was playing terrible. Obviously, the minutes were going down, so the decision to play me 9:48 my last game there, you knew it was kind of coming. Peter Laviolette is obviously not happy with my game. And that's pretty much it. The article then says how the Capitals had tried to put Mantha in a proper position to succeed, and how this was supposed to be a really good season for him after getting surgery. Mantha says, I felt good. I mean, body-wise, no injuries. I think it's the first year in a couple of years that I played the first half of the year without getting injured, and so I was pumped for that. But the scratch was a wake-up call. It's just my work ethic, Mantha said. Right now, that's what I need to do if I want to get back in the lineup, and I'll have to show them. It's not as easy to switch it on and off. It's going to take a lot of games to get confidence back, for sure. And this is a really strange article. I don't know if it's because, it's a Washington Capitals thing, it's their own reporting, it's not really as covered as, Toronto or Montreal or Vancouver, but these kinds of comments from a guy into the local media are kind of mind-blowing. Saying himself that the coach is not happy with his game, that it's a wake-up call, that he is getting scratched and he needs to be a little bit better, and how he needs more confidence, whatever, how he doesn't think he's playing poorly, but then, I guess I was because I got scratched. That is strange. If a guy in Vancouver said that, the media would be all over those comments. These were from, January 9th, so just after the game on Sunday. If you wanted some perspective on the coach, this is what Peter Laviolette said about Mantha being a scratch. I talked to him, and he's frustrated, as he should be. If you're in this room, you want to play, and he'll get back in there. I thought he had a good practice today. Not only did Mantha have a good practice on January 10th after getting scratched in that game against the Columbus Blue Jackets on Sunday, but a few days later, yesterday actually, against the Philadelphia Flyers, Mantha got scratched again. 2 straight games where the guy is out and not playing. I get it, it's in favor of Backstrom, it's in favor of Tom Wilson, there's a lot of good players on the team, but for Anthony Mantha, this is another kind of pillar in this conversation, also getting scratched poetically at the same time that Vrana's getting scratched in the AHL. Is this not a very strange coincidence in timing? I don't really want to go out there and say that there's anything external at play, it's just kind of a coincidence, I know that, but how funny is it of a coincidence that this is happening? It's strange, isn't it? And so, for Washington Capitals fans, I want you to tell me in the comment section below, what has Anthony Mantha played like this season? How has he been? Because a lot of the Red Wings fans that I've seen, just especially on the subreddit, have been talking about Mantha as of late because the scratching had made its way onto that subreddit, and a lot of the discourse is just kind of the stuff that we had talked about in this video, how the guy really does not look good when he gets into that mindset of just floating around. He is fantastic when he has his head in the game, but his head isn't in the game 100% of the time, and that was a pattern that Red Wings fans got familiar with over the years that Mantha was a part of the Red Wings. So, is this kind of the case in Washington? Is that why he has gotten scratched 2 games in a row? Or is it really just a matter of, okay, well, we got Wilson and Backstrom, they're back, they're good, and we'd rather have them right now? Mantha is on pace for 40-something points. He has a half a point a game on the season, and so that's the type of guy that I wouldn't necessarily think would get scratched per se for 2 games straight, but the wake-up call, I guess it's kind of there, isn't it? You can tell me in the comment section below what your opinions are on Anthony Mantha and the way he's performed for your hockey team. Washington Capitals fans, Red Wings fans, also get involved in the comments. What do you think about Mantha and this situation over here? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Juraj, and bye.